Okay, the North Hunterdon-Voorhees Regional High School District Board of Education meeting on Monday, October 28, 2024 is now called to order. In accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meeting Act, NJSA 10-4-6 adequate notice of the meeting has been provided by submission of notice of the time, date, and location of the Hunterdon County Democrat on October 24, 2024. Notice and, to the extent known, the agenda of this meeting have been posted at North Hunterdon High School and Voorhees High School, provided to municipal clerks of Bethlehem Township, California Borough, Town of Clinton, Clinton Township, Franklin Township, Glen Gardner Borough, Hampton Borough, Highbridge Borough, Lebanon Borough, Lebanon Township, Tewksbury Township, and Union Township, as well as other interested parties, and posted on the district website. Fire exits are located in the directions indicated. If alerted to fire, please move in a calm and orderly fashion to the nearest smoke-free exit. Please silence your cell phones, and I need a roll call.
Ms. Cagno?
Here.
Mr. Chapman?
Here.
Ms. Gallo?
Here.
Ms. Hintz?
Here.
Ms. Cotran?
Here.
Mr. McIsaac?
Here.
Mr. Mealy?
Here.
Ms. Reyes? Here. Ms. Salino?
Here.
Mr. Spanton?
Here.
Ms. Beato?
Here.
And Mr. Carvanish.
Here. Flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we are here this evening to vote on making Dr. Rich Burjax the superintendent of the North Hunterdon-Voorhees School District from November 20th, 2024 through June 30th, 2028. Dr. Burjax graduated from Trenton State College, with a degree in technology education. He joined the North Hunterdon-Voorhees District in 1999 as a technology coordinator, and in 2002, Rich was promoted to technology director for the district. He held that position until 2009, when he was promoted to assistant principal of Voorhees High School, then assistant principal at North Hunterdon in 2010. He was again promoted in 2013 to principal of North Hunterdon High School. Rich held that position for 4 years until 2017, when he was made assistant superintendent of the North Hunterdon-Voorhees School District. Rich has been acting superintendent of the district since July of this year. Rich also holds a Master of Education earned in 2002 and a Doctor of Education, a degree he received in 2008 after attending Rutgers University in the Education Leadership Degree Program. Rich has served this district for 25 years. As one can imagine, Rich has numerous accomplishments and successes given his long tenure with our schools. These include, he drove the initiative for all staff and students to have laptops, thereby providing greater educational opportunities for students and a connectivity with their teachers. He implemented wireless networks to allow laptop connectivity through the buildings. He implemented the Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights law. He partnered with Hunterdon County Vocational School District to form the first of 3 full-time Hunterdon County Academy programs. He implemented the school climate improvement platform at the inception. We are now one of the founding districts using this state-provided platform. He enhanced security measures at our schools. He successfully negotiated and agreed to a lease for the new full-time Polytech building currently under construction. He added online tutoring programs to address student learning loss during the pandemic and maintained that program to ensure the continued success of our students. He helped develop the Lion Pride Academy and the autism programs at Voorhees. Rich is already driving our district towards the future. In addition to developing the district's 24-25 goals and objectives, he and his team are actively developing our 5-year strategic plan. Rich is already engaging a professional consultant to conduct a demographic study to plan for the full future enrollment and needs of our district. Rich knows our district and its needs and has conveyed to this board a vision for the future, which includes developing a more efficient administrative structure that will provide academic support to ensure student success, improving the high school experience by evaluating our current clubs, activities, athletics, developing a multilingual learner program that will benefit our students, and strengthening our 9th grade transition program. We are here today at the direction of this Board of Education. This board recently expressed confidence in Rich by making him our acting superintendent through June of 2025. By making that decision, we entrusted Rich with many responsibilities, including the development of our 5-year strategic plan, the development of our 25-26 budget, and the successful integration of Polytech into North's campus. Rich's superintendent contract that we are voting on tonight sets his salary at his current acting superintendent's salary of $234,000 a year, with straight 3% increases over the subsequent 3 years, no bonus structures. The contract sets forth annual reviews each year, using in part the district goals and objectives as one measure of evaluation. So at this time, we'll open the opportunity for public comment. So during this portion of the meeting, the public is invited to address the Board of Education with comments. You are requested to sign the register provided for this purpose and state your name, municipality of residence, group affiliation if applicable, and direct your comments to the school board president. While all comments will be considered by the Board of Education and a response may be forthcoming if and when appropriate, individual school board members may not respond to the speakers at the time of their appearance. The public comment period will be a maximum of 30 minutes in length unless there are unusual circumstances. You'll be allocated 3 minutes to speak, and no one will be permitted to speak more than once on the same topic until all others who wish to speak on that topic have been heard. Please keep your comments respectful and non-defamatory and maintain a level of decorum appropriate for a public meeting where students may be present and in the audience.
Good evening, guys. The mic's a little off here. Thanks for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Richard Lordy. I'm from Union Township. I'm here to share my concerns tonight with the special meeting to adopt and ratify the employment contract of Dr. Richard Burgax as the new superintendent of the district. Given the significance of the decision, I urge you to reconsider moving forward with the appointment tonight and instead pursue a more transparent, thorough, and inclusive approach to the superintendent search process. A rushed decision here risks overlooking crucial factors that could significantly impact our students, faculty, and community. We all want what's best for our district. I think there's no disagreement there. Gathering input from all stakeholders, that's parents, teachers, staff, and community members, can only help. Why we're not doing that, or why the board is not doing that, I'm not sure. But I want to be clear about something. Calling for a comprehensive search is absolutely not a criticism of Dr. Burgax, and by no means calling his qualifications, his credentials, or his abilities into question. An exhaustive search could well lead us back, or lead the board back, to Dr. Burgax, and affirming that he is the best candidate for the role. However, conducting a wider search would also allow us to consider a more diverse set of candidates who could potentially bring fresh perspectives and new ideas to the district. This type of transparent, open process would give the community full confidence that Dr. Burgax is the right person to be chosen to move the district forward. So I'm really here to address 3 main points here tonight. And I'm sorry that I'm kind of rushing because I'm tight on time. Communication, the advanced communication or that lack thereof. Announcing the meeting on a Friday for a Monday is a really tight window for the community to do their due diligence on what's actually going on here. Doesn't allow any members of the community, the school, the staff, the taxpayers adequate time to get informed or provide meaningful input on such a significant decision. We need more time to take all factors into consideration. For instance, just a couple minutes ago, the president mentioned the terms of the contract, which I just heard for the first time. I'm assuming I didn't see the contract posted anywhere. If it was, I missed it, but we're all just hearing this now for the first time. Again, I mentioned the search process. Why isn't the board conducting a more wider search that best casts the widest net for all candidates? Again, it could only bring a more diverse set of candidates here and give us the best opportunity to find the correct person. I want to bring up an important point here. The process here sharply contrasts with what the process is or was with Hunterdon Central. I'm not sure if you're all familiar with it. So it's a very comprehensive timeline that they put out with action steps, and if I can, I want to go over a couple of the steps. January 4th, Dr. Jeffrey Moore announces his retirement. March 18th, the school board contracted with Hazard, Young, Atay, and Associates to conduct the superintendent search. Now here's what really caught my attention here. Page 2. As part of the engagement phase, we will be conducting interviews and focus groups with all stakeholders. We invite you to participate virtually in the links below. They had 2 Zoom sessions. 2. The first one being on April 17th, 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. The second being on April 24th, 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. They then followed that one up with an in-person focus group, April 30th, 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. And lastly, in addition to the many focus groups and interviews, all stakeholders are invited to complete the HCRHS Superintendent Search Survey to provide valuable input to the school board. This is a complete contrast to what's going on here. And I'm just here to say, Dr. Burgax is under contract until June of 2025. Why are we rushing? Time is on our side. Why not have a more exhaustive search? Why not use the time? So I ask you guys, please take this into consideration. The third point, and I just kind of touched on it a little bit, the timing. I must say, holding a special meeting 8 days before an election with 4 seats on the ballot, it's bad optics, at best, bad optics. It gives the impression that the board intends to make this decision without full community involvement or input from any potentially new incoming board member. Additionally, and as some of you may know, this meeting tonight conflicts with the Union Township Board of Education meeting. So it prevents any parent to be in 2 places at once. So I'm not sure why this date and time was chosen, but it just goes with everything that I've been speaking with members of the community about this being a rush process. And I know I'm tight on time, I'll leave you with this. The last thing I want to say is that given that an ethics complaint has been filed against this very board, the public has every right and expectation for the board to be overly transparent. This is the exact opposite of a transparent process. Thank you for the time.
That's right to the staff. You can leave.
Any other comments? Okay. So I need a call for motion and second to adopt resolution 102824-1 for executive session to discuss matters falling under category 8 as reflected in the attached resolution. The board expects to be in executive session for approximately 1 hour, and upon return to public session, action will be taken. Beth?
Second.
Jess? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, we're in executive session. All right, so I need a call for motion second to reconvene public session.
So moved.
Jess,
Second.
Beth, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? We are back in public session. I need a call for motion and second to ratify and adopt the new employment contract between the board and Dr. Richard Burjax, current acting superintendent of schools, approving Dr. Burjax as the superintendent of schools as approved by the executive county superintendent for the period November 20th, 2024 through June 30th, 2028.
So moved.
Sarah? Fine. Any questions or comments?
I did want to share a few thoughts, recognizing, just sort of the unique opportunity we're in, and also just being cognizant of some of the questions we've received about the process. In my time in education, I've worked with 15 superintendents in different educational or board capacities, so I've seen, as superintendents have been onboarded, I've seen it done many, many different ways. Ideally, you get an announcement almost a year in advance that a superintendent is retiring so that you can initiate and conduct a very thorough search before appointing someone the following year. I'm cognizant of the fact that the transition that we have gone through is atypical for a number of reasons. But I will say also that I've been through a number of instances where you have gone through the search and that internal candidate who has either been doing the job or has been in a position to do the job has often been the candidate that search has landed on. And it's understandable because that candidate knows the district, the board knows that candidate, and there's a lot to be said for that knowledge, because when you bring in someone who's new, there's a learning curve of getting to know a district, which takes at least a year, and often several years before someone can know the district. And I think we have an advantage with Rich as being somebody who does really know the district from his various roles and positions. I'm also cognizant of the fact that we had begun a strategic planning process and soliciting bids for that process, recognizing that that's just important work for us going forward. And I think one of the things I was particularly cognizant of was that any further search at this point would delay that work, possibly putting it out a year from now. And I think we all sort of recognize and are eager to do that very important work going forward. So there's something to be said for moving forward with that. Also, while a superintendent search definitely gets input from a community, so does a strategic plan. Having participated in the strategic plan here previously, I know that was a series of meetings done over several months where all community members had opportunities to come and sort of chart the direction that the district would ultimately take. If you recall, our last strategic plan, this little thing called the pandemic got in the way of that, and that didn't continue, but we do have an opportunity to start that work anew. So I think this idea is that we recognize we are poised to get a lot of input from the staff, from the community, from our constituents. And the important thing about a strategic plan by design is that it becomes sort of the main work and evaluative measure of the superintendent. And we're in a unique position where Rich has sat as an interim for us, not once, but twice, actually, I believe, once since I've been here, once before I was here, and obviously has facilitated the work at this table many, many times. In fact, I'm coming up on my 1-year anniversary, and Rich has been the voice at the table, or the presence at the table in all but one of those meetings, which I think is also valuable and important. Also, for those who might be questioning, is there a different candidate or another candidate out there, it's important to note that superintendents do not get tenure. Their tenure exists in as much as the contract exists, and that charge of strategic planning and the work that would stem from that is something that we as a board will have to evaluate annually regarding the progress of that work. As I said, my experience here, and those of you on the board have even longer experience of this board, and some of you much longer experience of the district also, which I think is important, and those perspectives are important, and I know are informing your decisions as well. I know in my time here, I've been able to see Rich engage in all that he's been asked to engage with. He has dealt with challenges, he has dealt with crisis, and he has done so admirably and effectively. He's been able to find solutions, and I would say to the audience or anybody listening who has watched this board, I don't think they'd be under any illusions that we get along on everything, but it's something that Rich has been able to navigate and sort of forge consensus opinions and resolutions through the questions he answers, the solutions that he proposes. And so I commend him for that work. He has already begun to indicate to us what he would potentially seek to do in a leadership role and the ideas he has for moving the district forward that would hopefully feed directly into a strategic plan. That while we may get criticized for the optics of a rushed process or a short time frame for communication, that is certainly something that we can build into processes going forward, or give that charge to Rich to say, we need to be at a place where the community understands why we're doing what we're doing, even when they may not always agree with this as well. So I guess I would ultimately be voting for this contract because I think it supports all of that work, and with that plan and that charge going forward is directly to support the students, staff, and the community. So that's my point of view. Take it as you will, but I did just want to offer it as to why I would be voting in support of the contract.
Thank you, Brendan. One of the things that Brendan says, I think is really important, and I really appreciate you sharing a lot of your insight, because I think coming from a teacher in a different school district, I think you have a lot of information, and a lot of the stuff that you said really resonated with me. And one of the things that I think is very valuable, because, you know, Rich has definitely been pretty much the superintendent every time that I've had concerns or issues with anything, and the main superintendent here also at the same meetings. I think one of the things that I'm troubling with the contract is the fact that the community, the faculty, and the district did not have input into this process. And I think that I kind of started feeling this way after we discussed this, and I started doing some research, and I looked into, it was Clinton Middle School. They did a survey recently for superintendent. Hunterdon Central did a research for superintendent and got the information from, you know, the community on what they wanted in the leader. And as I believe Rich has all of the credentials to be in this position, I'm struggling with the process more so than the person, of how the process has quickly transpired, and it just, to me, it doesn't seem that it's inclusive to the entire community. It might be inclusive to us in here, but that's one of the things that I feel strongly about is, especially as a leader of this district, I think it's very important, and I think it helps the district, and I think it helps the superintendent when the community is 100% and the board is 100% behind them. So I'm not saying that I don't believe that Rich would not be one of the best candidates for his position if it was opened for interviewing. But on those kind of bases, I don't know how I feel about pushing this contract through. Truthfully.
Just wanted to say, and Brendan, I appreciate your comments. You're a much better speaker than me, so I appreciate you saying all of that. I just wanted to reiterate that I agree with what you were saying. But some of the things I wrote down were, because of Rich's 25 years here, we all know, and I don't think there's any doubt, that he's highly respected and well regarded by the school administrators, the staff, and even the board members here. We've never heard anything to the negative for that. And I think that's our input that we're getting from everyone. I understand the perception and the process, but we've heard, from all the people that have been here for years and years, what they think of Rich. And so we know these things. I've worked with well over 20 districts on my business side. I've worked with school districts, boards, and superintendents. And the one thing I see mainly in New Jersey is the turnover. It's just constant turnover of superintendents, especially when they're coming in from the outside. They're just coming in to do a job, and then it's just a revolving door. And what you end up with is there's no depth, there's no history there, there's no looking forward enough to get things done. Rich has obviously dedicated his career to this district, and I think our vote of confidence to continue with that relationship is something we need to do right away. So.
Yeah, Dan, I'd like to echo on those comments. Also, Brendan, very eloquent, and I'm not going to try to top that. But I just want to say, I guess I'm the longest serving board member here at this point. I'm a short timer, not running for re-election. So, in this short time that I have left, I just want to, speak out that, spent 12 years working with Rich, different capacities. He's a homegrown son, been in the district for a long time, working his way up. He knows where the bodies are buried around here. We hear nothing but good things from staff, from other administrators. So I have no reservation in supporting this motion. I feel confident the voters from Tewksbury and Califon have entrusted in me to make decisions benefiting this school district, and I have no doubt I have the confidence to make this positive decision for the towns that I represent. I don't need to go back and tell people that we did this and this and this. They trust me. They elected me. Go make a decision that's good for the school district. Don't delay something that can be taken care of right now. Continue our long-term planning. Just keep the ball rolling. So I've I'm gonna miss working with you, Rich. But those are my 2 cents, and leave it at that.
I appreciate everyone's input, Brendan, Dan. I too have been a sitting board member for 15 years, combined with my local and the high school board. We are elected to the Board of Education for the major component of our job is the hiring of a superintendent and the evaluation of our superintendent. Second to that is driving policy. I know Rich. I have no doubt his based on his longevity that he's been in the district and what he's done, his communication and so forth with the district and positivity. I don't doubt that the job cannot be done by Rich Burjax. My concern has always been, and Rich can identify with this, and the board struggles with this, but I am about process. And whether it is statute or it's supposed to or should have, could have, I think it's perception. And we are put here by our constituents. And we need to do what's best for everyone. First and foremost, students, staff, stakeholders. And I just see a lack of transparency in the process. It's an optics. And I also feel the district, we've been in such a tumultuous environment the last 4 years through COVID, coming out of COVID, the past tenure of a superintendent, a lack of transparency, you having to step in the shadow of a previous superintendent, stepping into situations that maybe you weren't ready for, or we weren't ready for. Not that you didn't do it, and you couldn't do it. It's not about, it's the could and should. And I just feel that, and I think it would envelop you as our face of the district, because this is what it is, the leader, the face of our district. It's buy-in from everyone. And again, I reiterate, it is not the person, it is a position. And we need to be transparent in everything we do and process. And if it has to be a best practice that we're implementing, we should be using best practices and we should be establishing them. And I guess that's how, I feel strongly about that. That we didn't take pause. A lot going on. We're moving quickly. And yeah, maybe we would go out for a search would normally, or an internal candidate, or a posting, internal, external. Take the time to evaluate. Give yourself a breath as well to identify and really shine. I would suspect that, you might be one of those last candidates standing. There might not be any candidates to come out for a search. But I think we owe it as a board, and we owe it to our constituency. I don't know if I can support this moving through.
So I'll just add a few things to what Dan and John and then Brendan said it eloquently. I think from my short experience on the board, I know that my constituents have elected me here and they trust me to do what's in the best interest of the students and the faculty, as well as for the community at large. Rich has always been here. He's always come to meetings, whether he's been sitting there or he's been sitting there. He comes to every committee meeting and participates actively and does his best to try to manage the differing opinions amongst the board members while we try to figure out what is best for the students and the faculty. I think that it's very common, at least in corporate practice, to take someone who's grown from within and to simply promote the next person in line. And honestly, I can think of no better person to take this position than Rich Burgax. He has shown us time and again that he can be a leader, that he has the best interest of the school district, and I fully support the contract and moving it forward.
I'd like to follow up with Beth and John and Brendan. Then again, nobody can say it as well as Brendan just did. But by the end of my term, I will have been on this board over 10 years. I've worked with Rich through all of those 10 years. I sat side by side with John through previous searches. I've sat in negotiation committees for the last 3 contracts. I've worked side by side as vice president twice and as president of this board with Rich. I can think of no better candidate for this position. Rich has proven himself time and time again, consistently to step up to the plate as needed, and even before we've even asked him to. He acted in roles that showed true leadership and passion for this position and this community. There should be no question in our minds that we are making a decision based on sound judgment and experience. We are elected officials. We were elected for our capacity to make this vote and make this decision, and how we've acted on it has not, while, as Brendan says, we are an atypical board. We are a board of 12 very differing opinions, but we unanimously came together as a board to support you, and I want to continue to do that in every sense of the word.
So, I've known Rich for probably over 10 years, having kids in this district. I've certainly known him close over the past 3 years, and I guess unlike many of you, right, I've had a very different relationship with Rich over the past 9 months. can tell you, certainly being here 25 years is certainly one credit, but he is passionate about our schools. He's passionate about our students. And for me, I can tell you, I chose, and I've said this redundantly, I chose to live where I live so my kids would come to these schools. And what I need to lead these schools is someone who's passionate about the students, who wants to be here. He has 25 years, a wealth of experience. He could go anywhere he wants. He is here. He has stuck with us through many things. We have a lot going on in the coming year between strategic planning, between budgets, between getting Polytech integrated in our schools. He has proven to me time and time again that he is rational. It has been, I will tell you, an abundantly difficult year, many of which has been public to you, many of which has not been public to you. And I can tell you, he is rational, thoughtful in the decisions he makes. He is trying to be abundantly transparent to the extent he's allowed to be. He's always focused on our students. And I will tell you, if there's anything you care about, that's what you have to care about. I will tell you, I think the proudest vote I'm going to make, and I have no idea what my future holds here, the proudest vote I'm going to make tonight is putting him in charge of our schools, because I truly, truly think he is going to do what's right for us over the coming years. I will tell you, I'm voting yes tonight. He is the right person for our schools.
I've had a great experience as a new board member with Rich, with answering so many of my questions, and very, very prompt with getting back, and the leadership through all the crises, if you will, the challenges with our board. And I agree with Rich being a fantastic candidate and being the person. It's the process that I'm concerned about as well. It's the opening this up to having it as a regular search process with an interview. And then also when I saw a few days ago what happened at Central too, that just appealed to me so much, seeing all the steps that they took. And it doesn't mean that Rich is, as everybody's saying, Rich isn't going to be the person that we choose, but just going through that process, I feel it's the best practice in the due diligence for our board to go through that. And I understand we have the strategic plan coming up. In a sense, I understand that, and that's super important. I brought that up early in this year, that we need to start working on that. And we also need to consider that this is a very important piece too, that we go through this process and make sure that we follow the steps that I feel would make me comfortable to go through. And to just finish that off, I have all the confidence that Rich could be that person. It's just a matter of going through the right steps.
So, to your point, Christina, as a new board member, I've had great experience with you, Rich. You know, you've been here for every meeting. You've stepped in every moment when we needed you as, intern and as an assistant superintendent. I feel you bring a wealth of experience with all the years here at North, and your dedication to the district. My vote is not based on your ability. It's not based on me feeling that you lack in any way. My vote that I struggle with is being more familiar with the process. As a new board member, I was not familiar with the entire process of, in hiring a superintendent. And I struggle with the perception of what we are doing throughout this process. I don't struggle with your ability and capable of running the district. And I think you need to know that. And yes, and you are very much appreciated. It's the process I struggle with. and perception. And I feel that if you would interview, I feel you would be the last man standing. You would be that one. I don't struggle with that thought. I struggle with the process.
We followed process and we discussed steps at length. We also did interview, you were gracious enough to step up and interview us. In addition to that, he opened himself up to any additional questions that any of us may have had after a very lengthy executive session. I'm finishing up 6 years on the board. The board, I believe, we have policy and procedure. We've put the right people in committees to make sure policy and procedure is as strong as possible, is compliant, follows school boards and New Jersey statutes. So at any of those times, as committee, they could have discussed that. But I do believe in the process, we were given that gift last session. At that time, that's where the reservation should have come up, and everybody was asked. So I, as much as maybe going forward as a learning, and also in strategic, if this ever comes up again, maybe it should be a little bit more solidified, but I believe that process was given, process was understood, and we all agreed to move forward. So I wanted to just say that I thank you for giving us the opportunity to get to know you better throughout that original interview, even though it wasn't a full interview, so to speak. It was on the spur of the moment, and you did outstanding for a spur of the moment. But the follow-up questions and all of the responses to me makes me fully confident that we've done everything possible to support the school and the mission of our district and our students foremost, and the rest of our stakeholders. So I thank you for the opportunity to be part of this process.
I'd like to add that part, you did come in graciously on the spur of the moment, for sure. And I think that during the discussion, I don't think it was as apparent to me of the process. More so, it was more of an emotional kind of thing, because I think most people here around this table support you in a lot of things that you do, and I like to say that wholeheartedly. But I did a day or two later reach out to Glenn because I was concerned about the process, and although that maybe we were kind of in agreement about some things, because I've also said about sending some questions. So that was kind of on my mind, like, okay, questions, like what's in the answer, what's important, I think it's more so of the fact that, like, I did try to kind of say, oh, wait a minute, I think that maybe we might be going about this the wrong way. So 2 days after that decision, I started questioning the process. So it wasn't just like this came up out of nowhere, it was something that was heavy on my heart. And I did try to bring it, I brought it to Glenn, and Glenn graciously called me back, and we had a great conversation. But, I'm one person out of the 12 that was kind of concerned at that point. I don't know when everybody else talked to Glenn, but whether support or not support, it doesn't matter. But I think that's the only thing that is holding me up about this whole process. It's not the person, it's the process. And I know that Tara said that process was in place, but when you compare it to other situations in other districts, it didn't feel that way, and it didn't feel that things were being communicated properly.
I feel like we keep saying we compare ourselves to other districts. We're looking at other districts to see what policy they followed, what procedure they followed. We are a unique district. We have our own unique circumstances. Hunterdon Central had extremely unique circumstances with their superintendent. First of all, we're not Hunterdon Central. We're not Bridgewater. We're North Hunterdon-Voorhees District. We made a decision as North Hunterdon-Voorhees District to follow a process that we all unanimously decided upon. We had ample opportunity for hours to change our mind, to ask questions, Not a single person said one thing at that, when we all agreed to not move forward. We all agreed with this process. This meeting was discussed. We agreed to come together at this meeting to ratify this contract. This was all discussed prior. This was not a secret to any member of this board. We had countless notifications as to what the contract would look like and where it ended up. We were giving adequate notice to ask questions about that contract at that time. We were giving adequate notice to ask any follow-up questions of Rich during this process. There is nothing that hasn't been transparent to any member of this board about this process. We have been extremely transparent with each other and the things that we could discuss due to personnel issues. This is a personnel matter. It's the only person we hire. And we unanimously decided to support our decision to continue in his role and to give him the superintendent position based on our knowledge, our working experience, and the powers that were empowered to us by our constituents to make this vote and this decision. I feel we should move forward with the vote and ratify the contract that we've developed and all had ample chance to question.
Jessica, I don't think anybody's, alleging anything was not disclosed. Folks
I keep hearing transparency, perception.
Well, but I get that the process was unique, and that it, as I said in my opening statements, it doesn't follow that very traditional process that these things often do. So I take no issue with anybody saying like they wish the process could have been different or that's the thing that's giving them pause. I totally understand that. And I think what I was trying to convey was that in recognition of that, it's not as though we're in a position where a decision is being made, but rather we're on the cusp of a larger undertaking through strategic planning.
Agreed.
And I think to the points that were raised here, it's perhaps incumbent upon us to say, how can we move forward in a way that we can all confidently feel communication and processes are happening in a timely fashion, or through the norms or things that we're looking to establish that are affording folks the opportunity to signal a pause or signal concerns. Obviously, we've had to do that on a very different timetable this time around. And I think some of what I was trying to convey was that this particular situation I found to be very unique given the various roles that Rich has filled over the past couple of years, that he has at multiple times in essence been doing the job. That's not typical for districts.
No.
They truly are seeing one person depart and making a decision
Agreed.
about a next person, not having had the opportunity to see that person in that role multiple times or for some extended period of time. And I guess that part of it was it did afford us insight into Rich, his work, his approach, in ways that you could even argue go beyond the additional process that he's been interviewing for this job for a few years in some way, shape, or form.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, not deliberately, but we've gotten to see that kind of work up close. So I'm in no way asserting that the process was perfect.
I didn't, but it's unique.
It's
And I
unique.
agree with you. We have a unique board. This is a unique circumstance. We shouldn't be cookie cuttering or comparing ourselves to other districts because this circumstance and this scenario that we're going through is unique to us. It is not what our district has been through, and the job interview that Rich has been conducting for well over 3 years has been unique to this district. So to cookie cutter and say we're not following what Hunterdon Central did or other districts who might have conducted their searches differently, had very different circumstances. And their circumstances, we don't know about. We didn't sit in their executive sessions. We weren't behind the scenes at their board meetings or their committee meetings to understand that what they were going through as a board and the circumstances, how they made their choices to go through their process. We sat through our executive committee meeting for hours and chose our process.
That is true. It was made very clear what our options were.
And we chose them.
And we chose it. Exactly.
I would like to say that, point out that the one thing I'm hearing from everyone is that everyone feels that Rich is the right person for the job. It's just the process of going through it. And to go out for a superintendent search is a very expensive process. So, that's a lot of money that we'd be putting out to come back to Rich. So.
Other comments? Okay. So then we need a roll call vote.
No.
No.
Mr. Chapman?
Yes.
Ms. Gallo?
No.
Ms. Dins?
Yes.
Ms. Cochran?
Yes.
Mr. McIsaac?
Yes.
Mr. Mealy?
Yes.
Ms. Reyes?
No.
Ms. Lino?
No.
Mr. Spanton?
Yes.
Ms. Beato?
Yes.
And Mr. Parbenish?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. I truly appreciate all the kind words, and I do take all of them to heart, and I want you to know I am dedicated to the district. I will do everything in my power to make sure this district continues to improve. And even the people that didn't like the process, I'm going to win you back. So.
Hold you to, I'm sure. And I believe it.
Thank you. So thank you very much. Well, my wife and daughter were going to join us tonight, so everybody knows who the faces were that were staying here. They wanted to come see this, and I was honored they wanted to be here as well. So they see what I do at home for this job.
Sure.
Do you do anything at home?
A little bit. A little bit. And so they understand my dedication as well, and so I'm glad they were here to be part of it as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
So I will say, candidly, I was nervous about this comment session tonight. And I will say, it's probably one of the proudest moments I have sitting here to say that this conversation was a good conversation. And I respect everyone's decision, but this is the kind of conversation, wherever I sit next year, we need to continue to have, because this was a good conversation, right? It was honest, it was calm, and it was constructive. And again, right, everyone's vote is what it is, and it's their right. But I think, right, this is a good start, so thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So I need a call for a motion and second to adjourn.
So moved.
Jeff?
Second.
Nicole? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? We are adjourned.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for making it quick, too.